All right, time to do my predictions for the 2012-2013 NBA playoffs. And this year, more than any other year in recent memory, it seems like the ultimate outcomes are pretty much apparent. But you never know. There's a reason why we play the games. And will there be an upset anywhere in the midst during this playoff season? Probably not, but still. All right, start with the Eastern Conference. You got the Miami Heat taking on the Milwaukee Bucks. Right now, the Miami Heat are pretty much on a collision course with the NBA championship. They might have a few stumbling blocks along the way, but I doubt it's going to come in the first round, and it's definitely not going to come from the Milwaukee Bucks. So I have the Heat winning this first series in 5. I think Milwaukee ends up winning a game against the Heat, but they can't finish them off even remotely. Brooklyn against Chicago. This is probably the only major upset I would call over the course of the playoff series. Brooklyn's a 4 seed, but I think Chicago is a 5th seed, a little bit better. I think Chicago actually has the better regular season record against Brooklyn. So I got Chicago winning this one. Sets up Derrick Rose against LeBron in the second round, which would be quite interesting. The Knicks against the Celtics. I think it's going to be a very, very entertaining first round series. I think the Celtics are going to win a couple of games, and I think this game will actually probably end up being a 7-game series. But even so, I still think the Knicks end up pulling it off, and their resurgency continues. Even though the Celtics have put up a very, very valiant fight in this first round. And the Pacers and the Hawks, probably the least entertaining of the matchups in the first round of the Eastern Conference. I got Indiana winning in 5. So that's what things look like in the Eastern Conference. We have Miami and Chicago in the second round, and New York and Indiana. All right, now let's go over to the Western Conference. Oklahoma City against Houston. Don't really expect any surprises here. I think the Thunder win it in 5. The Clippers against the Grizzlies. This might be one of the better matchups in the entire playoff run this year. Clippers, really great offensive team. Grizzlies, equally impressive as far as offense goes. But I think the Clippers, they've had a pretty good run all year long, and I think they survive for at least another series. They take out the Grizzlies in 7. All right, San Antonio against the Los Angeles Lakers. Lakers obviously without Kobe. San Antonio doing what San Antonio does, playing defensively, kind of boring, but they keep winning. I think the Lakers here are going to pull off an almost upset against the Spurs. I think they're going to win 3 games and eventually force the Spurs to Game 7. But I think at the end of the day, San Antonio ends up winning that game and taking out the Lakers in 7. Denver against Golden State should be mildly interesting, but at the end of the day, I think Denver is just the better overall team in every aspect. So there you go. That's what our Elite 8 looks like. Very little surprises here. I think probably the only area where I'm sticking my neck out is with the Bulls, but like I said, I just think they're a better overall team. So let's start over here with the Western Conference in the second round of playoffs. The Thunder against the Clippers, the resurgent Clippers, being good for the first time in forever, taking on Thunder, the most dominant team in the Western Conference. I think the Clippers go in there with Blake Griffin, and they win 2 games, but ultimately the Thunder are just too powerful offensively, too good defensively, and they will take it in 6 games. So they're heading back to the Western Conference Finals. San Antonio against Denver. I think San Antonio has a much easier time with the Nuggets than they did with the Lakers. Denver, a good team offensively, but they just can't compete with the Spurs defense. I think San Antonio ends up defeating the Nuggets in 5 games, which sets up Oklahoma City and San Antonio in the Western Conference Finals. All right, now let's flip back over to the Eastern Conference. Miami against Chicago. I think Chicago will play a little bit better than Milwaukee did, but I think the outcomes will ultimately be the same. Dude, the Heat, they're just way too stacked on offense, and I just don't think Derrick Rose, being the one-man army, can surmount the challenge. I think Miami ends up winning in 5. So they're also headed back to the Eastern Conference Finals. New York against Indiana. This might just be the overall best playoff series in the entire playoff season this year. Both teams are resurgent. Both teams play very similar styles of play. They're both just shooting three-pointers like crazy. I think it's going to come down to a 7-game series, and I just got a hunch here. I think New York, just by pure moxie and grit, end up winning the series, but they will be very, very drained heading into the Eastern Conference Finals. So there you go. The Final Four, you got the Miami Heat taking on the New York Knicks. And over in the Western Conference, you got the Oklahoma City Thunder taking on the San Antonio Spurs. Miami against New York, like I said before, I think New York is going to be very, very drained. I'm predicting they're going to have 2-7 back-to-back game series against the Celtics and the Pacers. And I think by the time they get to the Eastern Conference Finals, they're going to be way too drained and depleted to really stand a chance against LeBron and company. So I think Miami ends up winning this series and the Eastern Conference crown in 6 games. So once again, we head back over to the Western Conference. Thunder against the Spurs. I think the Spurs will play a lot better than the Houston Rockets, the Los Angeles Clippers did. But I think this is the point where the Spurs, their defense just isn't enough to hold back the offensive firepower of the Thunder. And what do you know? We end up with a rematch from last year's NBA Finals with the Heat once again taking on the Thunder. And should be an interesting series. I think it's going to go to 6 games. I think the Thunder will put up a very impressive performance and win at least 2 games in the series. But at the end of the day, it's really, really hard to root against Miami. They're a stacked team. They're really an all-time great team at this point. And I really think it's kind of ridiculous to think that any team other than the Miami Heat will walk away the champions of the National Basketball Association in 2013. So at the end of the day, I got the Miami Heat winning the whole shebang. They defeat the Thunder in 6 games. So congratulations in advance, Miami. You don't really deserve it, but you're getting it anyway. Probably.